My name is Tereza, and in this video I would like to compare the fiance visa and the marriage visa to help you make the best decision for yourself. I came to the United States on a marriage visa about 2 months ago, and I thought it would be cool to make a video describing the whole process, but then I realized that video would be very long, and I would really like to go way back and explain every single step that we took along the way and why we made the decisions that we made to help you with your immigration process so that you can avoid some of the mistakes that we made. And since we are going way back, I should start with explaining why I chose the marriage visa over the K1 fiance visa, or the third option that there is that I'll talk about at the end of this video. To give you a little bit of background, my husband and I have been long distance for the last 5 years. Essentially, our entire relationship until now has been long distance. We obviously visited each other back and forth, but we never lived together. On a surface level, it would have made sense for us to go with the fiance visa route, but there were several reasons for why I chose against it. And so in this video, I would like to give you an outline of the K1 visa process and the CR1 visa process and explain why I chose the CR1 over the K1. Let's start with the K1 visa. In order to apply for K1 visa, your American-based significant other has to be a US citizen. So if you are a legal permanent resident, you cannot do K1 visa. That would have been okay for us because my husband is a US citizen, but there's a lot more to it. You will start your K1 visa by filing the form I-129F and submitting the $535 fee. After you submit your form, the USCIS will take several months to review it and hopefully approve it, after which they will send it to the NVC or National Visa Center. Once NVC receives your case, you will submit the form DS-160 and you will pay the $160 fee. You will also have to submit other documents such as your birth certificate or police records. After the NVC collects all these documents and reviews them, they will send your case to the embassy where your interview will be held. After the embassy gets your case from the NVC, you will schedule a medical exam. There's a fee associated with it as well, and you will schedule the interview, or maybe they will schedule it for you. If the visa is approved at the interview, you will be issued your visa and your passport, and you will have about 6 months to leave the country and immigrate to the United States. Once you arrive to the United States, you will have 90 days to get married. And after you get married, you have to file the form I-485 with USCIS, and you will pay the fee, which is $1,225. So that was a basic overview of the K1 visa. And now let me explain to you why I didn't choose this type of visa. In the past, people used to choose the K1 visa over the CR1 visa because it was faster. You were able to be with your significant other sooner. And even though it was a bit more expensive, the price difference wasn't that big to be a big deal for a lot of people. Due to certain events of the past, the K1 visa now takes quite a bit longer, and it's not such a great deal anymore. For me personally, my biggest issue with the K1 visa was that I knew that after I would come to the United States, I would not be able to work legally and I would not have the SSN number. In my opinion, the main difference between the CR1 and the K1 visas is that when you arrive to the United States on the CR1 visa, you automatically get a green card. At that point, it is approved, you get it in your passport, and then it comes in the mail, and you get your SSN, and you can start your life. Whereas with the K1 visa, this whole takes a lot longer, and it's even more expensive too. So there really was not much benefit in that for me. Now, I understand that for a lot of people, the time that they will get to spend with their spouse is the deciding factor. But with how long the K1 visa has been taken recently, I really don't see much of a benefit in it anymore. I just looked up how long the K1 visa process takes nowadays, and the estimates were ranging from 6 months on the optimistic end all the way to 17 months. And that is just waiting for the USCIS to approve your I-29F. In that time, you could have your CR1 visa done. I don't want to sound like I'm just hating on the K1 visa, because I understand that there's a lot of people for which this is the better option, but I know there's also a lot of people who are playing with both options and can't decide. And my personal opinion, if you can do the CR1, do that. The main reason is when you arrive to the United States on a K1 visa and you get married and then you file the I-485 form at USCIS, then the whole waiting process begins all over again for you. Right now can take about 14 months, and in that time you don't have work permit, you don't have SSN, you can't leave the country unless you file for advance parole, and so essentially you are putting your life on hold. You can apply for your work permit and your SSN separately, but even the work permit takes months nowadays, and if you file for it separately, it's a $410 fee. Now, once your I-485 form is approved, you will most likely be issued conditional permanent residency status. What that means is that you will only get a green card for 2 years, and after those 2 years, you will have to apply for the removal of conditions. That is something that I will have to do as well, even though I came here on a CR1 visa, and that is because CR1 literally stands for conditional resident. It means that when I came here, me and my husband have not been married together for 2 years. But not everybody who files for the marriage-based visa has to do that. On the other hand, if you do K1 visa, you will most likely have to do this petition. Anyway, so now that I have sufficiently hated on the K1 visa, let me explain the CR1 visa process for you. The CR1 stands for conditional residency, whereas the IR1 stands for immediate relative. They are more or less the same type of visa, but when you immigrate here and you and your spouse have not been married for 2 years yet, you will get the CR1. If, however, you and your spouse have been married for more than 2 years at the time of your entry into the United States, then you will be issued a 10-year permanent residency status and you will get a 10-year green card. Let me again give you a quick outline of the entire process. You will start by filing the form I-130 at USCIS. You can do that online. You will also have to submit certain documents, mainly those that prove the bona fide of your marriage, meaning the realness of your marriage. That is the entire point of the USCIS process, to make sure that you and your husband are a real couple and that this is not an immigration fraud. I will talk about the exact steps and documents that you have to submit for the USCIS in my next video, since I want to go more into detail and this video would get very long. So after the USCIS approves your case, which can take anywhere between 6 to 16 months, unfortunately, they will send that case to the NVC. Once the NVC receives your case from the USCIS, you will submit the form DS-260, and your US-based spouse will have to submit the affidavit of support. The purpose of the affidavit of support is to make sure that your US-based spouse has enough resources to take care of you once you arrive in the United States, so that you are not a burden on the system. I will talk more about the NVC and the affidavit of support in one of my following videos, since I feel like this is an important topic to talk about and I don't want to just gloss over it. I want to go more into details about what exactly you need to do. Once the NVC approves your case, they will send it to your embassy, where your interview will be held. After the embassy receives your case from the NVC, they will schedule an interview for you, and you will have to schedule a medical exam with the doctor that's assigned by the embassy. The main purpose of the medical exam is to make sure that you have all the required vaccines and that you do not have any contagious diseases such as tuberculosis. If you get approved at your interview, you will receive your passport back within a few work days, or at least that's how it was in Prague. And after that, you have about 6 months to immigrate to the United States. Once you arrive in the United States, they will stamp your passport, and that sticker that they will put in your passport will serve as a temporary green card for up to 1 year. That is because it takes them quite a while to actually manufacture your physical green card. After you arrive, you should also automatically receive your SSN card. Mine came in 8 days, so that was really great because you need that card to do just about anything here. As I have already mentioned, when you arrived and you have not been married for more than 2 years, you will only get a 2-year conditional residency status, meaning after 2 years you have to renew your status, and that costs money and it costs time. To conclude this comparison of the K1 and CR1 visa, I made a table comparing the different fees that you have to pay. Of course, if you want to do K1 visa, you obviously can. The difference in the fees is not that big in my opinion. If I were to do it all over again, I would definitely still go with the CR1 visa, especially now that the K1 takes so long to approve and even the work permits take about 7 or 8 months to approve. So I would be here and I would not be able to work, I would not be able to make money, I would have to wait for the SSN as well, so I would not be able to open a bank account or have a driver's license. And those are all things that are quite important to me and maybe probably to you as well. I believe I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there's a third way. I'm not going to go too much into detail about this third way of immigrating to America when you have a spouse here or a significant other, because it's a little shady. It's not exactly illegal, and a lot of people do it and it works for them, but I'm not a big risk taker and this was totally not for me. The third way to come here and get your marriage-based visa or green card would be that you come to the United States on a visa waiver program or tourist visa, for example, without the intention to get married. And then when you are here, you get married and then you apply for adjustment of status. After that, the process is quite similar to the process of the K1 visa once you are in the United States. The trick is that you cannot come to America with the intention to get married and stay here and adjust status, and that's exactly what you're doing. So if they, and when I say they, I don't even know honestly who that is, but probably the USCIS, I don't know. But if they sense that you have been lying, that you came here with the intention to get married and you adjusted status, you might get kicked out. So just be careful when you're making these decisions and really read up on it and make sure you know what you're doing, because in my opinion, it is not worth the risk, but maybe it is for you, and I guess I can't judge. I am not an immigration lawyer. Everything I'm telling you in this video is based off of me looking up things on the internet, going on Visa Journey, going on the USCIS and the NVC websites, and my own personal experience with the process. When it comes to the immigration, always double and triple check every information you get. That would be the biggest piece of advice I would give to anybody who is starting their immigration now, is to question everything and to just Google and ask questions about any little thing that is unclear to them or that they're not sure about, because you are risking that even a tiny little mistake will cost you a lot of time apart from your significant other, and possibly a lot of money as well. That being said, I have provided some links that I thought would be useful in the description of the video, and I would highly recommend you go down there and visit them and read up on everything, especially if you're starting your immigration now. That's it for today's video, and in the next video I will go more into detail about the USCIS stage of the process. So if that's something that interests you, stay tuned and I will see you in the next one.